Welcome back to Case Closed, Anime Review Episode 136. This I'm reviewing the 1024th episode of the anime, which is called Momiji Ooka Challenge, Part 1, and the 1080th chapter of the manga. Now, I did look it up. This episode does that from chapters 1039 and 1040. You might ask, is there changes here? Yes. Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, there's actually a scene that was that from chapter 1000 is completely changed and a character is removed from the actual chapter. Maybe because he had nothing to do with the case, which I'll get to that. Thing starts off with basically well, actually, no, it doesn't start. It starts with Momiji, where she. This is just after a conversation they reveal in a flashback later on. That's actually 3 hours prior to this, where she and her butler are riding in her limousine because she was from a wealthy family. Where it's like, Hiji would do anything. She'll do anything he wants. Like, okay, yep. So So she proceeds to send a text message to Ran. Yeah, and this is sort of a mild follow up to the great two-parter that was 2 hours. Yes, from episodes 990, 927, 928. Episodes that aired 2 years ago. And yes, in the manga, it was probably not 2 years ago. No, not necessarily. Yeah, this is actually a follow up to the Kyle Chip case. Yes, which in the case of the manga, this was definitely about 2 years after that. And in the anime, it also actually has been 2 years, which, okay, in case you're curious still about those two episodes, these are actually a really good two-parter. Notice that in the anime is referred to as the Scarlet School Trip, and the episodes themselves are a two-parter that were about 2 hours in length. Yeah, really long. And just like in the manga, it's been 2 years, just like in the anime. Which, good job for the anime actually doing that. Because, can you think of any other time where the anime kind of follows exactly how long it's been in the manga? So during that arc, Momiji exchanged number with Rand. So she sent basically a text message like, "Hi, it's me. I have a sort of a small problem. Can you solve this? Can you have CG solve this code for me?" She met CG during the scholarship arc, which is awesome. Which, by the way, at the time when I was bench watching the series, that was actually one of the last. That was actually my last batch of episodes that I was watching. Was bench watching when I was bench watching this over the course of 6 months. Yes, 6 months. Yep. So gives Rand the code, and she of course forwards it to Sichi because she can use to contact him. She can't because she doesn't have his number. And of course, Coney gets the message. Of course, we also have this little moment where Rand is waiting for Sichi in her room. It's actually just a slight change from the manga, where in the manga she was waiting for Sichi to call back in her father's office, which he does make a cameo here. In the episode, they completely removed that. We cut to, before we get to that point, excuse me, we cut to Conan at Professor Gasa's house, where he's getting the text message about the code. And mostly put in a way the scene is proceeded exactly the way it's been in the manga, where you have the three detective boys where they're playing video games, and of course we have Genta where he's itching because apparently he's allergic to seafood. And it's Hybra, the one who diagnosed him with this, not an actual doc. Well, technically she's a scientist, but even she can figure this out. So, talk about abstracting about the code. And by the way, after this scene, Agasa Hybra and Detective Boys are not seen again for the rest of the whole arc. Nope, they're completely absent. It's almost like this was a quick hello, we're here. And then, of course, he comes home. Now, in the manga, Conan basically stops by the office first to acknowledge he's home. In the anime, he stops by Ren's bedroom and he goes to his room. Which, here's the strange thing about Conan's room in the series. Can you think of how many times it's been shown in the series? Like his room at Rand's apartment? Well, Rand and Kongoro's apartment? Not really, no. I can't think of. I think maybe it was shown early on in this series, but I think it was shown a couple times. But come think of it, I don't think the room has ever been shown in the series. I think that his actual bedroom in his actual house that's shown a couple times, but has been years since it's been shown in the series. So Justin's back in his room, and of course they go to the building. And when they get there, it's like there's a doorman that's like, "Hi, you must be Rand Salma. I'll take you up there." Well, he refers to as Sichi Kun's Kudo Sichi Kun's companion, Ran. It's Mori Ran Sama. Now, the reason why it's pronounced that way because in Japan, the actual family last name is actually their part of their first name, and the actual given name is the first name. Well, it's their given name is the last name. It's just the way Japan is. I'm not going to criticize I'm not going to criticize Crunchyroll for doing that because that's represented in Japan. So I'm going to leave that alone. So they go up, and now this is also a very tiny change here because in the manga you actually see their faces before when and that's who they are. In the anime, it's like, oh, it's like, Hatsuri-kan? Kana-chan? Yeah, that's what she says in the series. And of course, they're very happy to see each other. And then they explain in a flashback 3 hours prior to this, where they had just finished with the first semester. And of course, Moji is like, oh, congratulations, your first semester. Like, do something for me. And of course, he gets the agreement to be recorded via one of these tape recorders, not like basically these big ones that you have with extra tape. I've actually used one of these before to take notes, an actual note taker to basically gather notes. So it gives them the code, and then of course like Kana wants to talk to Momiji more, and the butler stops her, and then it's revealed a little bit later that when he touched like her, of course in the manga, Rand says, "There's something on your chest." And that's not on her chest, that's on her lapel. I'm glad the fact that the actual anime fixed this because I think that might have been an error on the writer's fault for doing that. This, of course, is the translation what I've read. So, yeah, I think it was definitely for Oyama. Yeah, I think that might have been error on his part, that or the translators, the saying that the bug is on her. See, and anybody can tell by looking at it, it's on her lapel. Basically, a scarf. She's basically a neckerchief she's wearing. In the manga, they say it's on her chest, even though that makes no freaking sense at all. Would it be so obvious everybody would see it? So, makes sense. Put it there. And by the way, there is a slight change here too, because in the manga, the butler was smiling when he was doing this. Yes, he was smiling. Implying that when he was touching her, he might have been attempting to grope her. That is how the artwork presented it. And I'm so happy they changed that because, yes, having a man like him trying to grope a teenager would be very appropriate for an anime to show this. And, like, why would a guy be smiling while putting on a bug on a teenage girl? That makes no freaking sense at all. Like, changing that to where he's not smiling, just being very polite, just telling her to stop. And, of course, he had in his hand the bug, which he just put it on the lapel. I mean, basically the way it was in the actual, if you read the actual chapter, It shows him smiling. Almost looks like he basically wanted to do something really bad to her. Like it's almost like the Oyama basically wanted to draw this butler. It's implying based on the facial expression that he might be a pervert, but he isn't. No, he is not a pervert. So there's another slight change basically where they kind of talk back and forth, and of course where Momiji is, and talk about the cheating, and of course, and then it's there's a circle on the ground. Now in the manga, this was obvious. This was a helicopter pad, which they don't show this until they get to a wide shot when the helicopter comes in and then lands right there. And I at least gotta praise the fact that the actual anime fixed this too, because it was so obvious this was a helicopter pad. And the anime, look, a circle on the ground. Which, yeah, that's another change they made. So she basically is wondering where the heck Sichi is. It's like, Ran. Now, Rand's lie about her and Conan coming in Sichi's place, that is straight from the manga. I appreciate the anime keeping that in because that's actually important to the story. So, yes. So, they kind of, in the way, decide to go get something to eat after chatting for a bit, and they walk for a while, and then they come across, and then we hit the butler saying the same exact line in the manga. We've been walking for 10 minutes, 30 seconds. Where the heck is this place? And it's this pancake place. Now, this place is in the manga. It's got a long line. There's a slight, adjustment of basically positioning. Because Momiji, in the shot when they show Ran, her, and Kachin, she's over to the right. That's how she's presented in the manga. In the anime, she's went to the left. And, of course, Ran is basically in the middle, slightly, here's the shot, okay? First you have Momiji, and then you have Kachin over the far right, and just behind Momiji is, of course, Ran. In the manga, they put her over to the right, which is basically took the same image and they just moved her over because it makes sense based on how the scene was shot and how it presented in the actual anime. So there's a slight different dialogue here in the course. We actually have where Hitori and Conan, where they actually solve where they need to go. The whole code is simply put basically where she was contacted to solve this riddle where a housekeeper was trying to have try to give treasure to her 4 sons, which were separated right after her husband passed away. She's now working at basically a mansion and gave all 4 kids up for adoption, and they have not seen each other for 30 years. Though apparently she's kept in contact with the firstborn. Yeah, this is kind of a contradiction here. This is basically a contradiction both in the manga and in the anime. Yeah, that's been pulled out from the manga. So after basically staying there for a bit, they apparently did not get anything to eat. Now, is that changed in the manga? No, they actually went straight to the warehouse right after they arrived at the restaurant. And they go there via cars that Momiji just happens to order. Well, probably because their family is rich, so of course you can have these cars just spring up out of nowhere. And the guys are sitting in one car, and the girls are in one car, and this is actually not a change in the manga. In the back seat we have Ran and Kachin, Kana, and up front is Momiji who's in the front seat. That's not changed from the manga. That's actually spot on from how it presented in the manga. And you're thinking, why would she up in the Woodlook speed that you watch him why would she appear to be if you watch from American perspective, she's in the driver's seat except she's not driving. There's a reason for that, because in Japan, where it's a copy from the British, or mostly European, the wheel is not on the left side, it's on the right side. That is how it's presented there, which that's actually also, of course, this is made in Japan, so of course they would basically make that accurate to how it presented in the manga. And they go to the warehouse. Excuse me. And they talk to a security guard who apparently was requested to be there by, of course, the late mother in case they solve the code. And they go to this 4th warehouse and they go in. By the way, scene is presented exactly the way in the manga, which kudos for doing that. And they go inside and they see 4 people. Well, one person on the ground who apparently who's not moving, and the other is standing over him. And they were saying with the connection basically where this one, the guy with the beard, was they mentioned that the security guard mentioned him, he's been killed. He's dead. And the glass has been smashed and supposedly fell off this balcony. And Conan and Hattori were either they kind of solved at the same time. This basically who wins the case wins the contest. So they decide that this is supposedly a case for the police, and of course they determine that one of these three is possibly the culprit. Which, yes, that is quite obvious. So the only three here, so one of them must have killed them. And they all three arrive. Now, when they arrive, that's going to be explained in the very next episode. But I gotta say, presentation wise, really good. I think the changes they made here made total sense, especially that creepy smile that the butler had. But otherwise, though, good episode. Anything I didn't like about it? Not really, no. I think cutting out Moria of the episode made sense because he had no role in the story, so having a quick cameo. Because it'd be also kind of a waste of the voice actor's time for him to just show up for a quick little cameo, and it'd be kind of a waste basically because the guy had no dialogue in the chapter. He just there in the office, so it made sense to change this scene. Maybe they plan to have him for an original case after this two-parter wraps up. All right, so now we're on to the penultimate chapter of this three-part story arc. And you're thinking, another three-parter? Yes, for some strange reason, I have no idea why. It seems as though ever since the FBI Sierra murder case, ever since that one wrapped up, we've had, like, for the last the last 5 cases in a row be three-parters. Apparently, the writer likes doing three-parters for some reason. Now, I have not got my chance to read 1081, so I'm going to read here 1080, which is called The Forgotten Case. Which we have Conan drawn in the way he looks in the anime, which kudos for them doing that. Now, in case you're wondering why Conan has like this little thing in the back of his head, well, I don't know exactly what was the reason for that, but that is how the writer basically. That's how Oyama basically. That's how he draws them. So I'm not going to criticize how he draws them. I mean, I don't mind the little pointy thing in the back, but why why the messy hair for? Yeah, as far as I can tell, there's no explanation for it or why he doesn't properly brush his hair. So we get left off last time where we talk about the boy possibly kidnapped and something about going by week, and talk about the guy named Date who apparently Date, that was actually the name of Otaru's Takagi's former partner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was his name was former partner. So they have flashback to that. We caught some kidnappers, and then of course they look closely at the notebook, which apparently that Takagi has kept on. And they talk about how the kidnapper's partner be there in 5 minutes. What did the camera say about bringing 50 million yen of ransom money here? Put it in the Rillium case. They said the first public, and of course they calculate the actual centimeters of the case. So the case should be 50 by 30 by 15 centimeters. They even specify the case size. Wow. Might be irrelevant. There was a time when there was a thin oil make mark on the edge of the sofa, mark a corner to the wall. This is, of course, somebody saying this wall of the corner of the seat surface. We've already erased it. After that, there was a paper bag with handles in the gap between the seat and the floor. I see. So, I see that perhaps the kidnappers instructed the partner to bring the ransom money like this. Put the random case on the sofa, align with the mark to allow the triangle shape. Bring the money into the bag from the gap. But in reality, that space. Put in that space. Of course, talk about how the guy could have brought it there and just basically just walking the money that way. Yeah, paper bag, use it, I say. So they kind of come by and they see the boy. Put the money inside, of course, the Game Boy. And we see the creepy guy's like, and of course he brings out a spray. He's like, huh? He's like, just leaning against the car. And Sato comes like, can I talk to you for a minute? And of course she gets sprayed. Damn security spray. Conan, I'll leave the kid to you. Yeah, and she's got a detective badge. Like, when did Conan give it to her? Like, he must have given it to her at some point. So she races off with one eye, basically, like, can't see out one eye, to get the kid out of the car, and he's crying. It's alright, don't be scared. That guy's got chased away. Rest assured. This kid, he has been tied up, but he didn't try to escape. The car is not locked. Just one chance. He did be scared away, but my consciously made it SOS. It's good, the boy's okay. Hey, you, is it possible I knew that someone else been kidnapped? Huh? And apparently someone else has. I'm like, interesting. I would say the only plot hole I see in this chapter is when the heck did Sato get a detective boy badge? I mean, it's not bad for her to have it. I have nothing against her having it, but when the heck did Coda give it to her at some point? Apparently, I must have missed it. It's a good chapter. I give the chapter roughly a 9 out of 10. Great chapter. Can't wait for the finale for this particular arc. Yep. Excuse me. I'll probably come whenever I get a chance to find that new chapter. Okay, so that's it for Stickler Review. Next one's going to be Baruto, but it might not come for a little bit because I have something else to take care of. Okay? Next video. Bye.